Thank you for having me. My name is Jennifer Bedank. I'm a third grade teacher at Baker Butler Elementary. So I'd like to tell you this evening a little bit about, first of all, what is SEESAW. SEESAW is a platform that was originally designed for student and family engagement as kind of an online portfolio. SEESAW enables feedback and reflection, a place for teachers to give students assignments and informative assessment. And its primary goal is to provide a connection between teachers, students, and families. One thing on their website I love, they say, is kind of eliminating that, what'd you do at school today, from a parent and a student saying, I don't know, or nothing. So that was the original design of SEESAW, to be that online portfolio where students can share their work with their families and teachers. But as a result of school closures, SEESAW developers have been working really closely and getting feedback from teachers to update and enhance the platform to better accommodate virtual learning, which we know we've all been kind of thrown into. So I'm really excited to have been a part of the thoughtful professional development this summer around SEESAW so that teachers can be more intentional about using it this school year, because we know we were kind of rushed into it becoming online teachers in the spring. So this platform has really been updated for a new approach that teachers are using it worldwide. So on the next slide, I'm showing you some features of SEESAW. The main things that SEESAW can allow for is student engagement, differentiation, accessibility with features like voice recording and voice directions and comments, communication between parents and teachers, between students and teachers, and parents and their children, as well as creativity. So you can see, I won't read them to you, but a list of the features here. And our goal as teachers is to have SEESAW really just be like a learning hub for families and students and kind of make that their routine each morning. And I'll show you in just a moment an example of that, where they would log on to SEESAW to check to find their Zoom link for synchronous learning, their Zoom link for their specials class, assignments, and announcements from their teacher. So if we go to the next slide here, some things I just wanted to highlight. I'm going to show you some examples of, again, that K2 kind of activities and examples of what it might look like for a student, and 3-5 students as well, but overarching across all elementary age activities that teachers are designing, especially at the beginning of the year. The social emotional learning is really important, and those community building activities. Just as we heard, we're really working with that flexibility and just kind of giving ourselves grace to get to know each other and get adjusted in this new learning space online. It also allows students to share photos and videos. Like we've mentioned, I think it's really important to be mindful of this amount of screen time, so teachers can be creative with assignments by having students do things that are off screen, but then being able to share that with their teacher by taking a photo or a video. And then for all grade levels, voice recorded directions allow for accessibility for students. So some of the features that kindergarten through second grade teachers will really be gradually teaching and releasing to their students on how to do at the beginning of the year is taking a photo, maybe doing a drawing, and then recording their voice to explain their thinking. And these activities would have really simple directions, not too many steps, so that it could be something that like they are drawing a picture and then taking a photo of that or something along those lines that you'll see in just a minute. I have a fake class that I've created to show you. And then the difference with the 3-5 is maybe more advanced features of text boxes and then maybe uploading links or documents that they've created on other platforms and more of those multi-step projects. So I'm going to share my screen, excuse me, once I have permission to do that, and I will show you an example class that I've created. So here's kind of the main page. When a student logs in to SEESAW, what they'll see, this feed right here is in their journal. And I kind of think of it like on a social media platform, just where you can kind of scroll it's by date of when something was posted. Students can only see their own work, or as you can see here, this was me as the teacher posting this to the entire class, so you see everyone. So when they would log on, they would see a message from their teacher. Something that our LTIs have been working on is creating templates that would be consistent across the entire school, kindergarten through 5th grade, that all teachers would be using to make it really easy for parents, family members, and students to be able to just kind of have that one-stop shop learning hub like I was talking about. So if I'm a student in this class, student 12, you can see, I would come in the morning and I would say, okay, here's what I've got going on today. I'm in group A, I'm getting on at 8 o'clock, and I can, this is one of the new features that SEESAW added per request of teachers to make distance learning more easy, where we can link things to outside platforms within SEESAW. So they would be able to just click that Zoom link for their synchronous learning. And then later on in the day, they might come back to the same page to access their specials. And then here I just recorded an example of a welcome kind of morning message from the teacher. Some other things teachers might choose to include, depending on developmentally appropriate activities and things for their class, might be something like a morning message from the teacher, and then maybe a slide for each subject, kind of giving students a heads up of what we're going to be learning today, and maybe even links to what their synchronous work is going to be. And I'll show you in just a moment, or I'm sorry, their asynchronous work, what they would be working on in their independent practice time. So some learning targets for different subjects, maybe some reminders. This would all be kind of up to teacher preference and what works best for their students. Another thing they might include here, I did this in the spring and had a lot of success with it, giving students options for taking a break while they're not with the teacher in Zoom, and also a place to link for a teacher's office hours. So that's just kind of a brief preview of an example of what a teacher might have. And again, this would be consistent across the entire school. Another feature that's really nice in SEESAW is communicating from teacher to student, and parents would be able to see these messages as well. In the spring, I did a lot of community building, having students sign up for lunch bunch with their friends, and we would just be on Zoom together eating lunch and playing games and things like that. So that was really fun. So I'll show over here, the next tab is the activities tab. I'm just going to walk you through a few examples of K-2 activities that students might be doing. Now this would be on their own time. So you can kind of see SEESAW is being used in the synchronous instruction for students to access their Zoom links and maybe other things teachers might want them to access. And then during the asynchronous time to do some independent practice. So one thing that's important is this kind of common naming of the activities to make it really clear. Another feature of SEESAW was that teachers can schedule activities. So my team worked really closely last year to kind of spread the workload and decide what activities we were going to do, but then we could work on them together and then assign them in a way that they would populate into the students' feed on a certain date and time and in a certain order, so that students aren't overwhelmed seeing an entire week's worth of activities when they get on a Monday morning. So here's a kindergarten through 2nd grade example. This is a just little activity to check in with students, see how they're feeling. They would be using the drawing tool and the voice recording tool. I won't do this for every activity, but I'll show you briefly what it would look like from a student view, where they would be able to use the drawing activity to maybe draw their excited face for the day, and then use the microphone to record their voice and tell their teacher about how they're feeling. So that's one example. I'll show also some more academic examples. A shape hunt would be an example of a math activity that again would be a little bit more off screen. Students would be looking around their home to find shapes. You can see that this is a video direction and also as a video example, excuse me, and they could press this to hear the directions read aloud to them. So students could be looking around their homes for shapes, and I can show some examples of a reading activity as well. So another K2 example, I really like this one. When I taught kindergarten, I did something similar, making your name out of Play-Doh, or this example is finding things outside and building your name out of those nature materials. So again, this is more of an off-screen activity where students would be creating something and then sharing it with their teacher by taking a photo. And kindergarten through second grade students will be using generally an iPad is what we're providing, what the district is providing. So moving on to third through fifth grade examples. I love this activity I did with my third graders last year when introducing them to SEESAW, taking a picture of themselves and using text boxes to describe themselves. And then SEESAW has a blog feature where students can share their work with approval of the teacher with each other. So this would be really great for community building. Moving on to the academic examples, for showing multiplication, a student might be able to find some things, objects around their house to show equal groups and multiplication. So this one is another new feature of SEESAW that was added over the summer, where videos can be embedded directly into this slide. So here's just an example. You know, I'm not sure if I shared my sound or not, so I'm going to stop and reshare it. So that you'll be able to hear. So here's an example of a little math lesson.
Hi, third graders. So today in math, we're going to be learning about something called equal groups.
So this is an example that I created for this pretend class, but a student would be able to watch the video, see the example, and then try it on their own and take build some equal groups. Again, they would be able to play the instructions as many times as they need to be able to complete the activity on their own. And then as a reading example in the upper grades, kind of building community again would be a book talk or a book review. This example is one that I made to show us that a student could do something similar, pick a book that they've read, give a review on it and share with the class. So again, the voice instructions make it really accessible. The icons are another really great feature to help students be able to follow those directions. And lastly, my last example of a SEESAW activity that kind of incorporates the whole family is in that asynchronous time. It could be any time during the week or even over the weekend. I used this activity last year and families got really excited about it to share kind of a game that they liked to play together. So this was a really fun way to engage all families that way. And then the last thing that I just wanted to share that kind of came up as a question when we were practicing yesterday was that we are contacting families. I've been really lucky to already have these virtual home visits with over half my class in the last 2 days, where we had 30-minute Zoom calls with them to kind of get to know each other. And teachers of different schools are doing it different ways, but to be able to prepare everyone for the first day of school and kind of walk them through what their schedule might look like and how they'll be logging on to SEESAW to access their Zoom links and things like that. So thank you so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Good evening, I'm Erin Percival. I teach career and tech ed at Sutherland Middle School, and tonight I'm just going to do kind of show you an example of what Schoology would look like for a middle school student in my class. When we adopted Schoology last year in 2019, it was anticipated to be a 3-year rollout where teachers gradually learn the skills and we gradually transferred to the platform. Obviously, when schools closed for COVID, we had to jump right in and just start using it. I think everybody did a great job, but over the summer we started honing in on how can we make the user experience better for our kids and for our families. Some of the things that we decided to be our guiding principles at the middle school level, first of all, we wanted to support executive functioning. So how do we provide supports to help students plan and organize and monitor their work? We also wanted to reduce cognitive load. So what structures can we use? What extraneous information can we get rid of so that the focus is on learning the content and not managing the platform itself? And then finally, we wanted to maintain high quality instruction. It's at the heart of every good lesson. To support this, we developed a common course layout, which I'm going to show you in just a second. We also determined that Schoology needs to be the primary place to access and submit work. And then finally, we plan the tech tools to support the instructional practice. So the tools aren't guiding what we're doing, our instruction guides when we use a tool. Can somebody flip? There we go, perfect. So what you see here is a landing page for a student in my course. And you'll see a standardized header at the top. There are buttons that show frequently accessed programs that are outside of Schoology. Schoology does a really great job of embedding most things, but some things don't work exactly in terms of like Zoom. You can't do straight in Schoology. And so we have developed buttons so that it's easy to access for kids. For a student at Sutherland, 4 of these buttons would be standardized across all classes. That's the school website, the class information, the Zoom login, and the help desk. And then 2 of them can be changed out by content area. You can see I picked Newsela and Flipgrid here. And then again, you've got the easy access to Zoom. So this would be a standardized header that kind of like welcomes kids to our class. I'm ready for the next slide. I'm not driving. Schoology is basically organized by, there we go, you're good. Schoology is basically organized by folders. And so it's really important that we organize those in a fashion that is both standardized and makes it easy access for kids. So one of the rules we kind of base this off is the 3-click rule. If you have to click more than 3 times to get something, it's too buried. And so we were very strategic in the way that we created our folders so that kids could access information within 3 clicks. Each folder is labeled in a standardized way. So you're going to see it labeled by content and by date. That means if a student is absent and they can't meet for the synchronous that day, they can find their work very easily because it's organized by date. But also if a kid's going, man, I'm about to take a test on force and motion, where's that information? It's also labeled by force and motion notes, so they can go back and find information that way as well. The other thing that you're going to see standard is that when you open that folder every day, there is a daily work page. The daily work page explicitly tells students what the agenda is for the day. It's numbered, so it's easy to understand. It also tells students and family members that are looking at it, what are the daily learning targets that we are trying to get to today. It also tells any materials they need to have out. Hey, you know that worksheet we did the other day, you need to have that out on your computer, or you designed something and you're going to show it today during class. Make sure you have that out from the last class. So it's clear what they need before they actually start the lesson. And then I'm ready for the last. Yeah. So I also sort of wanted to show you one of the lessons that I built for the first week of school. At the beginning, you'll see that there's that today's work page I talked about. This particular lesson has 2 major learning targets. The first is to discuss and develop classroom norms for Zoom. And then second, to understand that the reason we're developing these is to make students feel comfortable and safe. So my lesson starts with a synchronous component where we're all together. We're doing a Padlet where students have to add a meme in about how they're feeling about starting the year virtually. And then after that, we'll have a conversation that's led by a Google slide deck, which I've embedded in here so kids can access later too, about what expectations or norms should we have to make this feel like a comfortable space that we all want to be in and join in every day. At the end of that, I go into an asynchronous part. There is another Padlet there where students post their responses of what are these expectations or norms that we think we should consider. And it even lets kids upvote them, which is pretty cool. So we can start seeing, you know, which ones are the most popular and come back to a consensus of what we think our norms should be. Some things I want to highlight about this lesson that I've created is that the tech tools are introduced and explicitly taught. I used Padlet in this example, and I taught Padlet in a synchronous environment so that students knew how to use it. The other thing you'll notice is that I didn't introduce extra tech tools in this lesson. It was just Padlet. I used it twice so students can practice using that skill before moving on to another skill in a different lesson. And then finally, I selected the tool intentionally. It has a very low point of barrier of entry. Padlet's super easy to use. It's very kid friendly. It easily embeds into Schoology, so there is no linking out in this lesson. It's all straight in the platform. And then finally, it's collaborative. And for an activity that's all about community building, how do we feel comfortable and safe in our class online environment, this is the perfect collaboration tool. So that is what a day in my classroom in middle school might look like. Thank you for having me. Please, I'm open to any questions you might have.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kate Innes, and I teach AP Economics and World History at the secondary level at Western Albemarle High School. So one of our guiding principles, a lot like the middle school, when we started to coming through this, we kind of came up with the same 3 things. We just kind of had it said differently. Our idea was consistency, that all the teachers would be able to make sure that kids are putting their energy into the work that they're learning in the lessons, not necessarily finding the work. So we kind of set up some common things to go along with that. And I'll show you those as we go through. We also wanted to do some things with empowerment and allowing students to manipulate their work in new ways and figure out how they fit together and still allow for creativity. And then all of our lens was done through what is best for our kids and how can we do that. So I'm going to take you through a lot of the supports that we've done to support this with a lot of our common folders and naming conventions, and then how we have emphasized all of our lessons across our school and pretty much across the high school have come with this idea of connection, a section of connection, a section of active learning, and a section of reflection that goes into our day. So I'm actually going to go and see if I can get share, and I will take you right into my class and get you started right then and there. So, all right. So, hold on just, I just turned on the chat on accident. Hold on just a second here. I got to make sure that I am in my class before I share with you all. All right. So share screen. And here we are. So when a student actually goes in, now this is my screen, so it's got a lot more populated of classes, but the student will have their 4 classes for this semester listed, and they'll be able to go to it. So I'm going to take you to my microeconomics class, if it will go. So this is now, my folders are kind of dull because of the fact that I have not published these yet because students are checking and stuff online. But let me talk to you about some of the common conventions, the common things that we're doing. As a staff, we came up with ways that we would make it similar for kids. And each high school has done this. They may have done it a little bit differently to try to provide consistency across the district. So all kids are doing pretty much or seeing the same things. So at our school, when you enter a class page, you're going to see we've asked our teachers to have some form of welcome, some form of weekly agenda, and common folders and common instruction. So our first thing I wanted to show you was our common folders. When a kid comes in, they're going to see 3 folder colors. They're going to see a yellow folder, and that folder designates the active learning. What is it that you are going to be learning? What unit are you going to be on? What are you doing? This is the stuff that you're responsible for. And kids can immediately associate the color with, this is the stuff that I'm working on right now. After something is done, it would change to blue. And blue would be showing that that's previous work. They still have access to it all. If a student was absent or they needed to go back, they can still go back to those blue folders. It just proves that that's the older content. We always want to keep the yellow folders at the top of the page so the kids see them right away. Another one that we all have is we chose green as our common for, this is our common information pages. So if you click on my green folders, you're going to be able to go see a syllabus, my information and my contact information here on how you find me, how you contact me. You can click on and get my syllabus document at any time. My class is using an online textbook for this year only, so you get that. One thing that all of the instructors at Western are doing, and some now that since I've been in district PLCs are like, oh, I'm going to do that as well from other high schools, is we have instituted an Ask the Instructor Help Forum. And this is a discussion board that's open all year for students and parents, because parents do have access to see their child's Schoology page and their folders for them to ask questions if they need for the instructor is another way to get a hold of them. So they'll have all of that information available to them in their green syllabus and resources. So let me take you to a typical page of mine, which would be my intro. So one thing I have mine set up by weeks. Different teachers are allowed different things. We asked that they use the same yellow folder to keep it consistent, but then they had the freedom to choose how they wanted to set it up. So if we go to week 1. Now, one thing that I do want to tell you about my class, and there are a lot of high school teachers who are doing this. It is a common theme across that I've heard, not everybody, but a common theme is that we are going to do a traditional type flipped learning environment. If you don't know what a flipped environment is, it's that we will front load all information, pre-recorded lectures, notes, videos, anything a student would need for that class that week, to have that available at any time. So a kid could, and the great thing about it is I know that I have kids who don't have the best internet access. So they know they come to school once a week and they can download or they can pull or they can get PDFs once a week and they've got everything that they need right then and there. So it's not having to go back and forth if they need. So I'm going to flip my class, which means I'm front loading it. They would watch these videos, take their notes, do all of that before they come to class. Therefore, we can spend as much time as possible being interactive with, I don't have to spend so much time going through. I can ask questions and answer questions on content. We can do a lot of practice. We can do a lot of activities and make it more interactive instead of just me delivering content. They'll also have certain assignments that they'll have every week in my class. Every week in my class, they'll have a practice set of questions. They'll have a discussion board. Those can be done either synchronously or asynchronously. They don't have to do it in class. I'm setting up my class schedule from Friday to Thursday. A lot of people are doing Mondays to Sundays, but I'm doing Friday to Thursday. Friday is our asynchronous day, so why not get a jump on the next week? So Friday is like a reading day in college. So they'll get their assignments. So if you look at my page here, so my first week is, here's your steps that you need to complete. These can be done both synchronously or asynchronously. It doesn't matter, they're due. So they need to make sure they've read the first 2 chapters. And if you look, it's corresponded right here that they can pick it. They can go to the intro notes. Please watch the intro number 1 by the 9th. Number 2 by the 10th, there it is. Log into my AP and join the class. There's the information. Complete homework assignment practice questions. For the first week, I wouldn't have it. It would be something given in class. Complete the discussion board. Here's the discussion board right there. All of these assignments are front loaded and assigned on Friday and due the next Thursday night. So I have the ability on Thursday night or Friday to go, who hasn't turned in their work? Who do I need to see in office hours? Who do I need to contact? Who do I need to talk to parents about? I have that ability during that time on Friday. So that's all pre. So what do we do during class? That's the question. So I'm going to show you a bit of what I would do. And what I'm going to do is a Nearpod. A Nearpod is an asynchronous type or synchronous type activity that kids can do. It allows teachers to put assessment. It allows teachers to use real-time and get real-time data with a student. The great thing is, and you can see it down here at the bottom, you have the option of doing live participation. So I can be doing this with my kids in class, but then I can also change it to student paced. So I can post this Nearpod after my kids get done. If anybody missed it or they need to go back, they can click through it on their own time. So I can be talking about, for example, productivity, and we talk about the different forms of productivity. And we've already discussed the 4 themes of 4 themes in working in economics and the models. And we've looked at what is normative and positive economics and why do we have theories of this. And then in the middle of it, I can say, okay, let's stop. Let's take a question. Let's talk about scarcity. Let's review. So the kids right then and there will get this screen on their screen and they can do it. So they can go, oh, well, scarcity, let's drag and drop. Is the idea that we have unlimited, oh, I don't even have that one. So I have limited resources. I have, and I can go through all of these different things and pop it in. Kids can press done. I immediately get the data. We can talk right then and there what we missed, what we didn't. I can embed videos. I can direct the instruction right there. This is a 20, 10, 15-minute activity, but the kids are still working. After we finish that direct instruction, one of the things that would happen next is that my kids would move into breakout groups. And this is a 20 to 30-minute activity for the day, where they're going to receive every time that one of the times that we do breakout questions would be a practice question. So they're going to get this practice question that they're going to work on. So they will join their breakout rooms for in Zoom, and I'll pop this question in. They'll have 20 minutes to practice this question on a Jamboard or an interactive whiteboard. They have the thing, they should be explained it. They need to tell why they have got the answer, why it's correct. They come back and we discuss, they present, then we reflect on it. And then we reflect on it at the end of the day with an activity. It could be a Padlet, it could be a survey, it could be using the Zoom materials of thumbs up or thumbs down, because we have that ability to gauge reactions. I could give them a 5-question formative exam, 5 questions saying, okay, here you go, here's your exit ticket, like an exit ticket right here. At the end of the day, everything's published into those class activities. So anybody can find them if they need them, if they missed my class. And so that's how my class is set up. And so one of the things, let me see if I wanted to make sure. I think I've covered everything I needed to cover. We wanted to try to make sure, I wanted to I listened to Miss Lee earlier this evening. One of the things about trying to deal with equity issues, especially across the high school, is that in addition to our regular PLCs in our building, we've been doing our district PLCs. And for example, in my AP Economics PLC, we've kind of agreed on these same elements. My World History PLC, we've all agreed on the same common pacing, to use same type of assessment, the same type of these kinds of things. So at least those will be across the board. What you're going to get that's different is teacher creativity. So, and I'm hoping that kind of has in it, and I'll take any questions that anybody has and talk about with high school.